In a bustling port city of the Kingdom of Ulstead, where ships from all over docked, brothels sprang up like mushrooms. Although prostitution was despised, it was considered an indispensable part of urban life. The brothel Harbour Blossom was located at a street corner near the market, famous for its flashy exterior but concealing many harsh lives within. Marie used to be the daughter of a skilled blacksmith, but when her parents passed away from disease, she was sold into the brothel to pay off debts. On her first night at Harbour Blossom, Marie realized that her life had changed forever. The other girls taught her how to put on makeup and smile brightly, even when their hearts were shattered. Marie realized that the customers there were not just sailors or mercenaries, but also nobles and wealthy merchants. Many came to satisfy their lust, but some lonely souls visited just to share their burdensome lives. On long nights, Marie became a listener, a shoulder to cry on. One day Pierre, a poor tailor, came to visit. He did not seek pleasure, but came to ask Marie for help. His wife was gravely ill, needed money for medicine, and he was willing to do anything. Touched, Marie secretly gave Pierre a small sum of her saved money. Rumors about her kindness spread, but it also angered the brothel owner, Madame Helga, who felt that Marie had broken the rules. That night, Madame Helga interrogated Marie and beat her brutally. The other girls remained silent, too afraid to intervene. However, when Pierre found out, he rallied the poor folks from the neighborhood to protest. Afraid of losing her income, Madame Helga reluctantly let it go. Marie realized that in this harsh world, not everyone was heartless. Sometimes a small act of compassion could create unexpected strength. After that night of rebellion, Madame Helga gradually changed her attitude towards Marie. She became the one whom other girls approached when they were oppressed. A few years later, Marie saved enough money to leave and opened a small bakery. Some old customers still visited from time to time, not to seek pleasure, but to buy a rustic loaf of bread from the hands that had endured so much hardship. Life continued, but Marie knew that she had survived the darkest days with courage and compassion. Marie's bakery became a gathering place for the poor. With her skillful hands, she made fragrant loaves of barley and honey. Every morning, she set aside a loaf for Pierre and his wife as a silent gesture of gratitude. Yet not everyone supported Marie. Some people still saw her as a fallen woman, despite having left the brothel. Marie learned to ignore the gossip and ridicule. She knew she had escaped the darkness, and nothing could extinguish. As the seasons passed, Marie's bakery became a cherished part of the neighborhood. People came not just for the bread, but also for the warmth that filled the little shop. Marie poured her soul into every loaf, and in return, the community gradually embraced her. Yet despite the peace she had built, the shadows of her past sometimes lingered, reminding her of the One evening, as Marie was kneading dough by the dim light of the fire, a soft, sleepy voice called from the corner, "Mama?" Marie turned, wiping her hands on her apron, and saw Elise rubbing her eyes. The little girl had been napping on the cot, tucked away at the back of the bakery. Marie smiled and knelt down, gathering her daughter into her arms. Elise was the one pure light that had emerged from the darkest part of Marie's life. Born from a mistake, from a night that Marie tried to forget, Elise had become the heartbeat of her existence. When Marie first held the tiny crying baby in her arms, she promised to protect her no matter what. Elise had given her a reason to fight, to build a new life, to prove that love could still grow from the most unlikely of. "Mama, can I help?" Elise asked, her small hands reaching for the dough. Marie chuckled softly and handed her a small piece to knead. The girls' laughter filled the room, blending with the comforting crackle of the fire. As they worked side by side, Laurent appeared at the doorway, carrying a bundle of firewood. He smiled at the sight of them, his presence a familiar and comforting one. Marie looked up, grateful that Laurent had chosen to stay in Alstead. Though he had never pushed her to share her past, Laurent placed the wood by the hearth and ruffled Elise's hair, making her giggle. "Practicing to be a baker, huh?" he teased. Elise beamed up at him, proud of her lumpy piece of dough. When Elise went to the back room to put away her little apron, Laurent took a seat by the table. "She's growing fast," he remarked, his tone gentle. Marie nodded, a hint of worry in her eyes. "Sometimes I wonder, will she ever know the truth? Will it change how she sees me?" Laurent reached for her hand. "She doesn't need to know all the pain you went through. What she needs is what you give her every day: love, stability, and a chance to grow up happy. You've done more than enough, Marie." A quiet warmth spread through Marie's chest. Laurent's words always had a way of grounding her. Just as she was about to respond, a loud banging came from the front door. Startled, they both turned as the door swung open. A group of rough-looking men stumbled in, led by a burly man with a scar across his cheek. Marie recognized him immediately: Oswald, a mercenary who used to frequent the brothel during her darkest days. "Well, well," Oswald sneered, eyeing Marie with a predatory grin. "Didn't expect to see the famous Rose of the Wharf playing house." Marie froze, her heart thudding painfully. Laurent stood up, his jaw clenched. "Leave," he said firmly. Oswald ignored him, stepping closer. "You think you can just wash away your past with some flour and sugar? People don't forget where you came from, girl." Marie swallowed hard, fighting the urge to shrink away. She glanced back to make sure Elise hadn't heard. Laurent moved between them, his voice low and cold. "You've had your say. Now get out." Oswald looked Laurent up and down, smirking. "Ah, the brave protector. Doesn't know he's bedding a used-up whore." Before Laurent could react, Marie took a step forward. "I'm not the person I was back then," she said, her voice steady despite the fear knotting her stomach. "I've built a new life, and I won't let you destroy it." Oswald scoffed but seemed to sense the determination in her eyes. With a dismissive wave, he spat on the ground and stormed out, his lackeys trailing behind. When the door finally closed, Marie felt her knees weaken. Laurent caught her before she could fall, guiding her to a chair. He knelt in front of her, worry etched into his face. "I'm so sorry," Marie whispered, her eyes welling up. "I never wanted this to touch Elise's life." Laurent squeezed her hand. "None of that was your fault. You've given Elise a beautiful life. You don't have to feel ashamed for surviving." As he spoke, Elise peeked out from behind the doorway, her small face filled with concern. "Mama, are you okay?" Marie quickly wiped her tears and forced a smile. "Yes, sweetie. Mama's just tired." Elise walked over and wrapped her arms around Marie's waist, her touch tender and comforting. Laurent placed a gentle hand on Marie's shoulder. In that moment, surrounded by the simple warmth of her daughter and the steadfast presence of Laurent, Marie knew that no matter how fiercely the past tried to reclaim her, she wouldn't let it break her spirit. From that day on, Marie vowed to never let fear dictate her life. Her bakery continued to thrive, and while some still whispered behind her back, most had seen the truth of her heart. Elise grew up in a world shaped by kindness and resilience, learning from her mother's unwavering strength. And every time Laurent came back from his travels, he brought new stories and small tokens for Elise. But most importantly, he brought Marie the assurance that love, no matter how unexpected, had a place in her life. In the days that followed Oswald's unsettling visit, Marie couldn't shake the lingering fear that more of her past might surface and hurt Elise. Though Laurent's reassurance had soothed her, the seed of doubt had already been planted. As rumors began to stir once more, Marie noticed a slight change in how some of the townsfolk treated her, no longer as openly warm, and some even whispered behind her back when she passed by. One evening, as she closed the bakery, Laurent appeared at the door, his expression serious but calm. "There's something you should know," he said, stepping inside. Marie's heart sank. "Is it about Oswald?" Laurent nodded. "He's been spreading stories. Some folks believe him, but others don't. Pierre confronted him in the tavern, saying he had no right to judge you. A few other regulars backed him up, but it stirred things up." Marie sank into a chair, her hands trembling. "I was afraid of this. I thought I could just leave it behind." Laurent sat beside her. "The people who matter know." Marie gave a weak smile, but worry still clouded her mind. "What about Elise?" Laurent took her hands gently. "She won't. Not while you're here, showing them every day that you're more than your past. You've changed lives." The next morning, Marie hesitated to open the bakery. As she finally gathered her resolve and unlocked the door, she was surprised to find Pierre and a few familiar faces already waiting. "We wanted to help," Pierre said with a warm smile. "We thought that if more of us came by, it would show everyone that we still stand by you and believe in what you've done." "You've earned our respect, Marie." Pierre's wife handed her a basket of apples, and another neighbor offered to help sweep the front. Bit by bit, familiar faces gathered, filling the bakery with the warmth and life Marie feared. Laurent stayed behind to help clean, and Elise played with thee. Later that week, a small festival was held in the village square. Marie dressed Elise in a new blue dress, a gift from Laurent, and fixed her own hair with a simple ribbon. Marie felt the familiar knot. As they made their way to the village square, Marie noticed curious glances, but also friendly waves. Pierre waved them over to a stall selling hot pastries, and Elise eagerly tugged her mother's hand to follow. Marie began to relax, finally feeling the weight of fear and guilt lift. Laurent won Elise a small stuffed rabbit at a game booth, and they watched as the little girl danced around, her joy infectious. Just as Marie started to believe that things would truly. Looking around at the people who had chosen to stand by her, Marie finally felt at peace. She knew that her past would never completely disappear, but she no longer feared it. With Laurent by her side and Elise's bright future ahead, Marie understood that she had built a new life, one filled with love, courage, and the unbreakable spirit that had carried her through the darkest of times. With Laurent by her side and Elise's bright future ahead, Marie knew she had built a new life, a life filled with love, courage, and an unbreakable spirit that had carried her through the darkest of times. As she stood in the village square, surrounded by friends and neighbors who had come, she had transformed her pain into strength, her past into purpose, and now, under the warm light of the setting sun, she could finally embrace the happiness she had fought so hard to build. Looking at Elise playing with the other children and Laurent smiling beside her, Marie realized that despite the shadows of the past, she had found a place where she truly belonged. A place where love and resilience triumphed over